There were exactly 127 people in attendance that day. The string quartet was halfway through their second prelude. The champagne had already been popped in the groom's lounge. The mother of the bride had just posted a filtered photo of the bouquet with the caption, "My baby girl finally gets her forever." The venue smelled like roses and vanilla. White drapes floated against the ceiling like clouds. The planner was pacing, the ring bearer was crying, and the makeup artist was dabbing away sweat with a powder brush that hadn't been cleaned in weeks. Everyone was ready. Everything was set. But someone was lying. The groom, Caleb Langston, 27, finance, outwardly charming, was missing for 9 minutes. Not enough to cause panic, but just enough for the bride to go looking for him herself. That was the last moment anyone saw her smile, because the door she opened was the wrong one. It wasn't locked. It wasn't even closed. The music kept playing. Outside, people kept laughing, but inside that dimly lit dressing room, her entire future was being disassembled. She didn't scream. She didn't even gasp. She stood there, silent, watching the man she thought she was about to marry kneeling between her best friend's legs. Her hands were shaking. Her heart wasn't. She didn't slam the door. She closed it, gently, as if tucking the moment away, saving it, like evidence, like a weapon. And then, she vanished. No one saw her leave. No camera caught her exit, not even the maid stationed outside the bridal suite. They just remember this. At 3:27 p.m., the bride disappeared, and when she returned, she wasn't the same. If your stomach turned, if your breath caught in your throat when she closed that door, then don't just sit there pretending you haven't felt this kind of betrayal creeping into your own life too. Tap the like button right now. Subscribe, because some stories only find the people who are meant to hear them, and the deeper we go, the harder they are to forget. Let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Not because it matters to us, but because one day it might matter to you that you left a mark here. Her name was Amara Green, the kind of woman you assume has no enemies because she's too kind to step on anyone's shadow. She was raised by her grandmother, Evelyn, after losing both parents in a Christmas Day fire. She never talked much about that. Only once, during an interview for a volunteer role, she said, "Grief is the only language I spoke for years, but I'm fluent in peace now." She made custom wedding centerpieces, planned other people's fairy tales, lit candles in the chapel every Thursday evening. She was the friend who remembered birthdays and the neighbor who checked on the old man 3 doors down. So when she fell for Caleb, nobody questioned it. Not because he was special, but because Amara loved like it was her job. Caleb was charming, sure, clean smile, loud laugh, the kind of man who knows how to make mothers love him and bartenders pour heavy. But he was slippery, not rude, not cruel, just slightly ungraspable, like shaking hands with someone who never fully takes off their gloves. There were signs, always are. The time he snapped when she picked up his phone, the way he changed passwords without telling her, how her best friend Jade had memorized his Starbucks order before Amara did, but Amara was soft. Too soft to accuse, too dignified to pry. She chose trust, until trust stood there with its pants around its ankles. It happened behind the third door on the left, near the chapel office. She had gone looking for him, worried he'd passed out, knowing he hadn't eaten all day. She heard laughter, soft, muffled, then something else, a sound she'd never heard him make before. She pushed the door open with her fingertips. What she saw froze her. Caleb, on his knees, his hands gripping Jade's thighs like they were his last lifeline. Her dress hiked up to her hips, eyes closed, mouth open, like she didn't even care who saw them. And Caleb, he looked up, he saw her, and didn't flinch. No apology, no panic, just this tiny smirk, the kind of expression people wear when they think they've already gotten away with it. Amara didn't speak, didn't blink. She turned, walked away, and pulled the door shut behind her like she was finishing a prayer. From there, we only have fragments. But what we know is this. Amara didn't leave the building. She didn't call the police. She didn't text a soul. She went to the security office, alone, told the guard there was a privacy breach and asked for camera access. He gave it to her. She copied everything, transferred the files to a USB drive in her purse. Then she made a call to the DJ. If this was your sister, your friend, would anyone believe her without proof? Subscribe, so stories like this aren't buried under good manners and family shame. And if you're still watching but refusing to subscribe, why? Drop your reason in the comments. You're already here. You already know what's coming. At exactly 3:29 p.m., 2 minutes after she shut that door, Amara was seen walking briskly through the corridor. No one stopped her. No one thought to ask why the bride was alone, without her bouquet, her maid of honor, or her smile. She passed the chapel. The guests were already seated. The violinist was still playing. She went straight into the operations room, behind the reception hall. She told the venue manager there had been a minor tech issue with the visual system. She said it was urgent. She handed him a USB, labeled in tiny red ink. Play this at 4:11 p.m. exactly, no matter what happens. The manager hesitated. Amara didn't. She looked him dead in the eye and said, "You're being recorded. Do as I say." Then she walked back into the bridal suite. That's when the panic started. The makeup artist couldn't find her. The wedding planner called her phone. It rang 4 times before it was shut off. A bridesmaid claimed Amara had gone to retouch her mascara. Caleb? He didn't even notice she was gone. He was too busy trying to convince Jade to stay for the ceremony, even if just as a guest. 4:03 p.m. The officiant was stalling. The guests were murmuring. A few started checking their watches. 4:08 p.m. Amara reappeared. No music, no fanfare, no announcement. Just the slow echo of her heels against the chapel tiles. She walked in alone, her veil down, no smile, no tears, just a calm that felt like warning. The murmurs began. One child asked, "Why is the bride walking alone?" Her grandmother leaned forward. Amara reached the front. She turned to the officiant, took the mic, and said, "I didn't come here to say yes. I came here to show you why I never should have been asked." Then she nodded to the DJ. The lights dimmed, and the projector screen flickered on. There was no warning, no audio, just footage, a grainy black and white timestamp in the corner. 3:18 p.m. The dressing room. Caleb, Jade. He was shirtless. She was already moaning. No music could have drowned out the gasps. In the pews, someone said, "Oh my God," out loud. The groom's uncle stood up and stormed out. Jade's father fainted. Someone in the back started sobbing, but Amara didn't flinch. She stood still, watching them watch her heart break. And when the screen went black, she lifted the mic again, just once, and said, "Now you know what I was supposed to marry." The room broke into chaos. Jade bolted. Caleb tried to follow, but was blocked by 2 of Amara's cousins. The pastor muttered something under his breath. The bride's grandmother crossed herself. But Amara? She didn't speak again. She turned around and walked straight out of the chapel, the veil still on, the heels clicking in perfect rhythm. She could have screamed, she could have begged, she could have run. But she did what most people only dream of doing. She let the truth speak for itself. If you believe that silence has power, if you've ever wished you had the strength to walk away without needing to explain, then subscribe. And if you've made it this far and still haven't, why? Go to the comments and tell us. We're listening. We're always listening. And don't forget, where are you watching from? Because the ones watching in silence, they always matter more than you think. The wedding didn't end, because in truth, it never really began. The guests left in clumps. Some whispered, others argued. Jade's mother slapped her across the face in the parking lot. The best man deleted all the photos from his phone, and someone, no one knows who, scratched the word filth onto Caleb's rental car with a house key. Caleb tried to go on like it hadn't happened. He sent texts to Amara, left voicemails, uploaded a now-deleted Instagram story of a Bible verse about forgiveness. But the screenshots were already circulating. Jade deactivated all her accounts, moved to another city, took a job under a fake middle name. And Amara, she didn't say a word. She didn't press charges, didn't even ask for her wedding deposit back. She just left a note, folded, placed on the altar. One sentence: "Truth isn't revenge, it's release." The chapel staff found it the next morning, pinned beneath a single bobby pin and a torn piece of veil. Her phone number stopped working 3 days later. Her apartment lease wasn't renewed. None of her close friends heard from her again. But every year, on the anniversary of the wedding, a white envelope arrives at the chapel office. No name, no return address. Inside, a photo, different every time. One year, Caleb asleep on a park bench. Another, Jade crying alone in a restaurant bathroom. One year, both of them in the same frame, but facing opposite directions. And on the back of each photo, the same handwriting: "Nothing hidden stays buried. I remember everything." This isn't just a wedding story. This is a reminder that one woman's silence can echo through years, that the truth doesn't expire, it just waits. Subscribe if you believe in exposure over excuses, in memory over manipulation, and if you're still watching but staying quiet, tell us why. Drop your location in the comments. Let us know where this story reached you, because we do watch where our stories go. A year after the incident, a theory thread appeared online, anonymous, titled, "The Bride with the USB, It Was Never Just a Wedding." The writer claimed that Amara had known for months that the wedding was a trap, not for revenge, but for documentation, a ritual of exposure. Some said she had hired a private investigator 6 months earlier. Others believe she knew since the day Jade called Caleb by a nickname she'd never heard before. There's even a theory about the veil, that Amara sewed a GPS tracker into its lining, that it wasn't just a veil, it was evidence. Others point to something stranger, that her disappearance after the wedding isn't just physical, it's symbolic. She doesn't show up on facial recognition searches anymore. No recent photos, no paper trail. One user posted, "Amara didn't disappear, she became something else. A mirror, and every year her mirror finds the ones who need to see what they really are." Of course, that post was deleted within hours. The account that posted it? Gone. But the image attached to it, a close-up of Amara's wedding shoes, still wet, still leaving footprints. Some stories don't just live in memory. They live in inboxes, in photographs, in the backs of closets and between the cracks of conversations. If this one found you, maybe it was supposed to. Subscribe, not for drama, not for clicks, for the simple reason that if you ever need to remember this story, you'll know where to find it. And if you're still resisting, leave a comment. Tell us why, and tell us exactly where in the world you are right now. No one's seen her in person since that day. Not really, not with certainty. Her old address was vacated. Her grandmother passed shortly after. Her business registration expired. Her phone number sends you straight to voicemail, if it even rings at all. Some say she moved to a quiet town in Portugal, that she opens her curtains once a month, only when it rains. Others believe she's still here, in the city, working in a library under a different name. But there's one story that never quite left the internet. It appeared in a private wedding forum, posted by a photographer. He claimed that he was hired anonymously, paid up front, to shoot a wedding in a small desert chapel. No guests, just one woman, in a white dress, no groom. She never spoke, only handed him a note at the end. The note said, "Some women marry men, others marry truth." And on the bottom corner was a name, scrawled faintly in the same handwriting from the old chapel envelopes. A. Green. So tell me, What do you really think happened to Amara Green? Was she a heartbroken woman who snapped? Was she a genius who wrote the ending of her own tragedy? Or something else entirely? Something people become when they see the truth and survive it? What would you have done? Would you have walked down that aisle anyway? Would you have played that footage? Would you have vanished, or watched the world unravel from the front row? If this story made you pause, even once, subscribe. Not because you owe us anything, but because you owe yourself the memory of what truth looks like when it's not polite. And if you're still watching but still haven't clicked, why? What are you afraid of? Tell us. Type it in the comments. We're not here to judge, we're here to remember. And one last thing. Where are you watching from? Because the ones who choose to stay quiet, they're often the ones being watched. We'll be reading, and so will she.